Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Day of Wellness. We're so excited to have you join us today. We want to thank our sponsor, Webster Bank. We will begin in just a few moments. We want to encourage anyone who has questions during this presentation to please use the chat box below. Thank you, and we'll start momentarily.
Good afternoon and happy Heart Month. My name is Kathleen Stanley. I'm an Executive Managing Director at Webster Bank and the 2022 Long Island Go Red for Women campaign chair. I'd like to welcome you this afternoon to the Go Red for Women Day of Wellness. We are excited to bring you a day of engaging and informative content to help you reclaim your rhythm. We are rallying our communities to get us back on the beat and feel the rhythm, to empower our audiences to take action and take control of their health by creating healthy habits. It's been a great day of activity with a focus on our bodies. Now it's time to focus on our wallets and our mental health. To conclude our day, I'd like to introduce our final session with my very own company, Webster Bank. Thank you, Webster, our signature sponsor, for Go Red for Women, and to all our sponsors for supporting the Go Red for Women campaign. Warren Bossert, LPL Program Manager of Webster Investments, will lead us in a discussion around financial wellness. Rose Kiola, founder of Rewire Me, will guide us through a short meditation at the end of this session. There will be time for questions. Thank you for joining us virtually today. Please save the date and join us in person for the Go Red for Women luncheon at the Crest Hollow Country Club on Wednesday, May 4th.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Warren Bossert, and I'm the LPL Program Manager for Webster Investments. And LPL is the largest independent broker-dealer in America and is also the largest company that provides investment products and services to bank clients and credit union members nationwide. I'm asked today to speak a little bit about tips for providing yourself with a financial checkup. So let's get right into it. And my thanks to the American Heart Association for putting this together and asking me to participate today. The first tip I have for you has to do with how much debt you're carrying. We find that it's important for us to be able to borrow money at various stages of our lives, whether it be a mortgage or a student loan or a home equity line of credit, something like that, or else, if that's for a longer period of time, but also for a short period of time. With credit accounts, credit cards, things like that. Well, those credit cards tend to have very high interest rates. And so if someone were to ask me, is it more important to save for the future or pay down those high interest rate credit balances, I'm going to suggest that you pay down those high interest credit balances. You know, the rates on mortgages and things like that, home equity lines of credit, those have been manageable with interest rates where they were over the last 20 to 30 years, manageable, relatively low rates of interest. But those credit accounts have high rates of interest. So you're going to want to pay those down. If you can pay your credit cards to zero every month, terrific. If not, certainly make more than the minimum payment. And then once those balances are down, now you've got more savings that you can put away towards your future. So that to me is an important first step as a financial tip. The next topic I would move into is, once you've accumulated some savings, is to understand some investments, is to understand what your risk score is. Now, a risk score is important because it enables you to identify how much risk, investment risk, you're willing to or able to tolerate. There's a risk reward spectrum where the more risk you're willing to take, the more return that you may be able to receive, and the less risk that you're willing to tolerate, then the less return that you're likely to receive. But that risk score can really help and go a long way towards getting you off on the right foot. Because once we know that risk score, we can compare it to your investments. And your investments have its own risk score. So in my case, for instance, my risk score, and these risk scores are from 0 to 100, my risk score is a 64. So if I found that my investments were a risk score of 86, well, I'm probably taking too much risk with my investments. I'm being a little too aggressive. But on the other hand, if I looked at my investments and I found that my investments had a risk score of 41, well, then I probably have the opportunity to reposition some of those assets into financial instruments that may give me a better return over time, And you can think of your risk score like a speed limit. It's from 0 to 100. At least the proprietary risk scoring that we utilize at Webster Investments is an LPL proprietary risk scoring, but a lot of advisors have this available. And so you can think of it as a speed limit. So if my risk score were 90, it's like driving 90 miles an hour. I'm covering a lot of ground quickly, but if something goes wrong, the consequences would be more severe than if my risk score were at 20 and I were driving at 20 miles an hour, where if something goes wrong, the consequences won't be too severe, but I may not picture driving from here to California at 20 miles an hour. You'll very safely not get there in time. So the risk score is important. Now I'll move on to the next tip, which has to do with retirement and retirement savings and retirement income. Retirement savings is one of the most important financial goals that anyone has, very common as the number one financial goal that people would have. And so if you're still in the workforce, you probably save something for retirement and you're probably continuing to save. But the question that comes up at some point is, am I saving enough? And how much income will my current glide path enable me to have at age 65 or whenever I retire? So one of the things you can do is you can project that. How much have you saved so far? Project what that'll be worth at your retirement age. And then identify how much you anticipate continuing to save between now and then. And what'll that be worth? Certainly, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do on your own, but you certainly can do it on your own, or if you have an advisor, to work with that person to see what that's worth. And that'll give you a good idea right now of how much your retirement savings plan will give you in terms of a retirement income. We can also incorporate Social Security in that, and you can all set yourselves up, if you're not already, at ss.gov, and you can take a look at your Social Security account and see what your projected retirement income would be, your Social Security income would be, combined with your retirement savings. So those are some tips for people who are still in the workforce. For people who are already retired, we take a look at the retirement income sources that you do have. Is it more than you need, about enough, or not enough? And if it is in place, at what point will it be, how long is it scheduled to last? In other words, is it guaranteed for life, or is it for a limited period of time? We also start to look at the beneficiary designations that you have on your accounts. Whether you have a will or not, it's important to make sure that if your accounts allow for a beneficiary, that you have the right ones designated there. And certainly during retirement planning for people who are already in retirement, the questions then that we look at has to do with your beneficiaries. Do you have people or causes like the American Heart Association that you care enough about, you care deeply about, that you would want to leave you would want to leave money to them or some kind of a bequest to them. And so there are certainly those discussions come in for people who are already retired and are in a retirement income situation. The next category, I would say, for a financial tip is to look at your life insurance plan. If you're raising a family, then you're probably going to want to make sure that that family is protected financially in case something happens to one of the breadwinners or at the wrong time, prematurely. We don't like to think about it, but we probably all know of families of people who were unfortunately they were taken out prematurely, too soon, and the family had to continue. And most people would want to make sure that that family would not have to worry about money at that point, from that point on. So we can help, or you can help to identify, well, how much insurance is enough. It's okay to have more than you need, by the way. I think life insurance is like planning how much food you need for a family reunion. It's okay to have more than you need. You just want to make sure that you don't run out, and that you're not in a situation where you don't have enough food for a family reunion or life insurance in case something were to happen. But there's a lot of options available, a lot of affordable options and different types that you can look at, or we can help you look at. If you're already to the point in your life where you've raised your family, they're up and out of the house, and you still have policies that you established years ago, you may or may not still be paying premiums on those policies, but it's important to service those policies and to determine whether you need or still want those policies to be in place. And a lot of times you do want those to be in place, because if it's important to you to leave money to either beneficiaries or causes that you care about, having life insurance and leaving that life insurance to those people or those causes enables you to spend your retirement savings and not have to worry that, well, if I spend it all, then I'm not going to be able to leave anything for my kids or my grandkids or whatever it may be. Life insurance could be could be the amounts that you leave, and you can spend all of your retirement savings without worrying as much about it. So there's some thoughts on life insurance and updating it and reviewing it and servicing existing policies, which I think is very important, especially if you're no longer in touch with the people who originally helped you buy that insurance protection or put that protection in place. Because many people that I speak to, when I ask them, do you remember the name of the person who helped you with that insurance originally when you put it in place? A lot of them will remember the name, but then they're no longer in touch with those people. And it's important that those policies be serviced also. I've got really two other topics that I would touch on. One is women in investing, and this certainly is where red for women and heart health overall. But women do face some different challenges, some additional potential challenges when it comes to women in investing and retirement planning. First of all, women are still living longer than men. The life expectancy is about 5 years more than men. And so therefore, women are more likely to spend time living on their own and having to support themselves through that additional period of time. And if you're in a situation where there are two Social Security checks coming in, well, if the first person passes away, that Social Security, one of those two Social Security checks goes away. Whichever check is larger is the one that remains, but that other check was still important to making the household run and funding the household. So that's something to consider. The other thing is that women tend to earn less than men. We don't necessarily like this, but it's a reality right now. Women earn 82% of what their male counterparts earn, and that means there's less income that is being used to maybe fund a retirement savings plan, and also less income that is going into the Social Security fund. So Social Security checks for women tend to be less in many cases. Women are also more likely to take a break in their career if they're raising a family, or they may work part-time for a period of time, and they're not necessarily maxing out their earnings during those years. So once again, that contributes to less money being set aside by women for retirement savings and less money going into Social Security. So there are some additional things that you maybe want to take a closer look at. But for everyone on the call, these are some of my best ideas initially for tips for providing yourself with a financial checkup or a financial review. I do think that there's value in working with the right financial advisor. I've dedicated my career to it myself to help people make better financial decisions for their futures than they would have had I not been involved or had my staff of financial advisors been involved. It's not necessarily easy to find the right financial advisor for yourself. It's like, I think it's like finding a doctor, finding an auto mechanic, finding anybody else who may provide valuable services to you. You want to know that it's somebody that you can trust, and you want to know that that person has the experience and the credentials. I'm sure if you or a loved one needed surgery, you'd want to know how many times that physician has performed that surgery and what the outcomes are. Is this something that you've done hundreds of times, or is it still early in your career performing this surgery? Well, it's the same thing, I think, in finding the right advisor. But if you do find the right advisor, the goal is that perhaps you can benefit from that advisor's experience working with so many other people, maybe hundreds of other people, through this same stage of their financial lives that you're going through now, or that you're working towards now. So I hope that this time was worthwhile. And I once again want to thank the American Heart Association for not only conducting this event and all of its sponsors, including Webster Bank, but for asking me to be part of it. It really is my pleasure, and I certainly wish you and your families all the best. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Warren. It's now my pleasure to welcome Rose Kiola.
Hi, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk to you about why breathwork is a powerful tool. Most of us know that when we're rushed and feeling pressured, our breathing becomes shallow. But have you noticed that when your nervous system's jacked up, your inhalations are longer than your exhalations? Do you find yourself at times holding your breath when you're stressed? It's actually something we all do, but we don't realize we're doing it. If you can become aware to check your breath next time you find yourself feeling anxious, chances are you'll find you're emphasizing inhaling at the expense of exhaling. What this does is it ratchets up your level of stress. Short exhalations makes us vulnerable to anxiety, depression. They cause toxins to accumulate, and they create an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. Breathing is an automatic function of the body that's controlled by the respiratory center of the brain. And when we feel stressed, our breathing pattern changes as part of the fight or flight response. Fight or flight response is when the body shifts into survival mode. It's easy to see why this happens. The two branches of the autonomic nervous system regulate the lungs, the heart, the circulatory system, and our glands. In a sense, they work in opposition to each other. The sympathetic system helps the body gear up for physical activity by accelerating the heart rate, raising blood pressure, and increasing tension in the large skeletal muscles. The parasympathetic system does the opposite, decreases the heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and it releases muscular tension. Here's how it works. Inhalation stimulates the sympathetic system, and exhalation stimulates the parasympathetic system. And when we're under pressure, or if we're thinking stressful thoughts, we make ourselves tighter and more tense by inhaling longer than we're exhaling. The antidote is obvious, right? Just lengthen the exhalation. In fact, you want to lengthen it twice as long. Sustaining that type of breathing pattern for a minute or two gets your heart rate to slow down, your blood pressure drops, and your muscles begin to relax. And there's an added benefit. Emphasizing the exhalation discharges toxins and carbon dioxide from the lungs, leaving a vacuum that will be filled with fresh air for you to intake. The primary role of breathing is to absorb oxygen and to expel carbon dioxide through the movement of the lungs. And the muscles that control that movement are the diaphragm and the muscles between the ribs. So focusing on this area will help you strengthen your breathing skills. How about we try a short little breathing exercise? Sit comfortably with your head, neck, and body aligned. Relax your body and begin to focus on your breath as it passes in and out through the nose. Become aware of the inhalation and the exhalation. After a few breaths, place one hand on your abdomen and the other on your chest, and check to see if your chest is moving. If it is, relax the rib cage and focus on breathing slowly with your abdomen for several breaths, expanding your belly on the inhale and depressing it on the exhale. Once you're breathing calmly, begin to mentally count the duration of the inhalation and the exhalations, letting them be approximately equal in length. The average person is mostly comfortable with a 6-count breath, breathing in for 3 counts and breathing out for 3 counts. So let's try. Inhaling for 2, 3, and exhaling for 2, 3. Inhaling for 2, 3, and exhaling for 2, 3. Continue to let your breath flow quietly and smoothly through your nostrils. Eventually, you'll begin to enjoy the tranquility you're creating by this practice of breath awareness and allow your mind to settle into the counting experience. You see, when a person is relaxed, they breathe through their nose in a slow, even, and gentle pattern. Deliberately copying a relaxed breathing pattern calms the nervous system that controls many of the body's functions. See, we have the ability to deliberately change our own breathing pattern. There's so much science out there that shows controlling your breath helps you to manage stress and stress-related conditions. Breath work is becoming more mainstream in promoting relaxation and reducing stress. Controlled breathing can cause physiological changes that include lowered blood pressure and heart rate. It will reduce the levels of stress hormones in the blood. It will reduce lactic acid buildup in muscle tissue. It balances levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood. It improves immune system functioning. It will give you increased physical activity, and it will promote increased feelings of calm and well-being. There are many different breathing techniques. The general aim is to shift from upper chest breathing to abdominal breathing. I recommend practicing in a quiet, relaxed environment where you won't be disturbed. Set an alarm if you don't want to lose track of time. The rest is up to you. All you need is a minute or two, and it will completely change your mindset. Let me show you another simple breathing exercise. It's called the 4-count breath. Again, simply relax your body and do the following. You're going to let all of the air out of your lungs to the count of 4. You're going to keep your lungs empty for the count of 4. Then you're going to inhale on the count of 4 using your diaphragm. Then you're going to hold your breath again for the count of 4. And then you're going to exhale again on the count of 4. And you'll repeat this exercise 1 or 2 times. You ready to give it a shot? Okay. So inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Shallow upper chest breathing is part of the typical stress response. The stress response can be reduced by consciously breathing using the diaphragm. Abdominal breathing helps to control the nervous system and encourages the body to relax, bringing about a range of health benefits. Hope you enjoyed this.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our Day of Wellness. I want to give one more thank you to Warren Bossert and Rose Kayola, and I actually want to invite Warren and Rose to join us for a few minutes, just to chat as we just reflect on what we've learned. I think it's really important that we have these conversations and that we make the connection between stress and our mental health. Warren, I'll start with you, and I also want to say thank you to Webster Bank for your sponsorship and the support that you lend to the American Heart Association and Go Red for Women. But Warren, there's a statistic that says 84% of U.S. adults report feeling stressed out about money. So what can I do, or who can I speak to if I'm feeling overwhelmed by financial situation?
That's a great question. There's no doubt that money-related issues is a big stressor in our lives. And I think this underscores the benefit of finding the right advisor who has a depth of experience and perspective that it's difficult for an individual to have. I emphasized one point about how that advisor could, you may be able to benefit from the fact that if you find the right advisor, they have helped many other people through similar stages of their life. And that perspective can help you as well. You're benefiting. And if you think about it, we really only have one opportunity to save, each of us to save for retirement, as an example. And how many things in life have you ever done the first time you did it as well as it could be done? Almost nothing. You certainly didn't, we didn't ride a bike perfectly the first time, to touch on a cliche. And so I think that's part of it, Diego, because what you don't know about it yourself, working with the right person can give you some perspective. And a common question is, are other people in the same situation as I am? Impossible to answer unless you have somebody that has the experience in working with so many others. So I hope that helps answer that question.
Without a doubt. And I think, I think it's that same idea when we talk about our mental health of being willing to reach out to someone, ask for help, whether that's, a therapist, there's a hotline, someone who you trust, who you can talk to. But Rose, let's talk a little bit about that. If you are feeling overwhelmed, what are some healthy ways to manage stress? I know for me, I know there are moments when I just need to unplug, put the phone down, close the laptop, turn off the TV. What are some other healthy ways to manage our stress?
Well, first I was going to say, I'm calling Warren. When I'm getting stressed about finances, I'm calling Warren and I'm going to take his advice and review your dialogue again. Thank you for that. It's part of our everyday life, and it is very difficult to unplug, to put those things away. I mean, especially when where there's so many things that we're needing to do. We're multitasking all the time, especially women. It's a dynamic of our life. We feel that we can do everything, handle everything. And in moments like that, there's all these short meditations that you can try. And, my thing also, like recently, is the breath work. If you just turn your phone off or put it away, walk into a bathroom, any place where you can just spend a moment, and that's literally 1 minute, 2 minutes, close your eyes and just breathe. With your belly, put your hands on your belly, feeling your belly expand and depress. That alone will reframe your whole inner system, your whole autonomic nervous system. It calms everything down, and you're able to regroup and see things clearly.
Rose, I like that a lot, especially in winter, because for me, the other thing I love to do is be out in nature as therapy. Whether it's walking in the park, grabbing my golf clubs and just walking around the golf course, even if I don't play well. But you can't really do that in the winter. So really just finding that refuge of a quiet corner or a bathroom is such good advice. So thank you for sharing that.
And another quick thing that you can do, yes, always being outside in nature is best, but when it's cold out and I feel overwhelmed, I will just step outside and look up to the sky, because the sky is so vast. And when you're looking at it, you're like, that's so much bigger than me and everything that's going on in my life. Just looking at the grandeur of the sky also helps you reset your body.
I like that. We're not always the center of the universe, and that's a good way to remind ourselves of that. Warren, I think, again, to continue to talk about the connection between healthy habits and financial success, what are those not so healthy habits that we might tend to do that maybe eat up a lot of our of our income throughout the month or throughout the week that maybe we can leave behind, that could also help us build healthy habits?
Well, impulse buying is sometimes known as retail therapy, and it does provide a certain amount of I guess there are some endorphins that kick in when you do that, but it can you really should be disciplined about it, because that's those are things that can eat up disposable income, and then you turn around and you're not sure where all of the paycheck went. I think eating out is also can tend to be very expensive as well, and I still find it surprising that there's a line halfway down the block at some of these upscale coffee places. I don't want to mention any names, but we all know the ones, and it's so inexpensive to make your own coffee, but yet people will go out a couple of times a day or whatever it might be. So, those are the types of things where I think a lot of money is spent. I'm not going to say it's wasted, but at least if it's a conscious decision that you say, I may be able to afford to do anything, but I can't necessarily afford to do everything, and be a little bit disciplined about it, be thoughtful and deliberate about what you're spending your money on, and ultimately what you would like to accomplish financially over the course of the rest of your life.
Now that's such good advice, because it really is about intentionality. And I've done the math on the cup of coffee every day and how much that saves you. And it really is remarkable to think that you could probably buy round trip tickets to just about anywhere in the world for the price of that cup of coffee every day. Rose, how about you? What are those healthy ways to give up bad habits that you might want to share with us?
Walking is one, huge. I have actually recently lost some weight, and how I did that was by, after eating a meal, walking immediately without waiting, just getting up, going for a 5-minute walk and coming back. helped reset my whole frame and made me thoughtful about how I wanted to spend the rest of my day. It's taking little moments throughout the day where you can do things for yourself because, again, as women, we tend to prioritize everything and everyone before ourselves. And so taking small snippets throughout the day to do something for yourself, whether it's taking a walk, even going to the corner and back, sitting, calling a friend, taking a breath, going through a guided meditation, all those things are here to help you promote well-being.
Because I love all of those examples. And one I want to mention, because we've talked about it a lot, is practicing gratitude.
That's my favorite too. Every day, at the end of the day, when I get home, I take out a little slip of paper and I have a jar and I call it my gratitude jar. And I write one thing down that I'm grateful for that happened either that day or a thought that I had or a person that I spoke to. Just one small thing. It takes a half a minute to do, and it just makes you feel so much better about yourself and your day and gives you something to look forward to the next day.
Well, thank you both so much, Warren and Rose. Warren, I know when we originally spoke, really the genesis of this idea is how can we talk about those small incremental steps that we could take every day that help us have success in the long term, whether they're about our health, our financial health. And I think we've shared some really good examples. So thank you, Warren. Thank you to Webster Bank for your support of this event. And Rose, as always, thank you for the, just the wonderful commitment to the mission of the American Heart Association and your dedication to Go Red for Women in New York City and Long Island. So I want to share my gratitude to both of you.
Oh, well, thank you for
Thank you,
having
Diego.
me.
Brittany, let's share a slide because I want to remind everyone that the 2022 Long Island Go Red for Women Luncheon is back. It's taking place Wednesday, May 4th at the Crest Hollow Country Club. So please save the date. And I want to leave that slide up for a minute. I want to give you a chance to grab your phone, open up your camera, point it at that code, that QR code right there, and visit our website to learn more about the 2022 Long Island Go Red for Women Luncheon. It's going to be a wonderful event and a great chance for us to reconnect and get back in touch with each other after the last 2 years of isolation. So on behalf of the American Heart Association on Long Island, we want to thank all of you for making this day of wellness a huge success. We want to thank all of our sponsor, and in particular, we want to thank Webster Bank for sponsoring this third installment in our Day of Wellness. Thank you, everyone. We wish you good health, happy American Heart Month, and we hope to see you in May.